Okay, chapter 10. So, what did you think of chapter 9? Did you think it was funny? I thought it was hilarious, especially when Caroline, and I hope I'm not giving it away, but when Caroline stole the wrong underpants and Mr. Hatford had to call her and ask him for her underwear back. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. Okay, here we go. Chapter 10 Siren Song. Wally, Josh, Jake, and Peter stood still as cement as their father made the phone call. Mr. Hatford turned around, phone in hand. She says she'll return my briefs if you return her paper. Wally, do you know what she's talking about? Wally nodded and swallowed. Tell her I'll return the paper if she returns the flashlight. Mr. Hatford spoke into the phone again. He says he'll return the paper if you return the flashlight. Don't ask me what's going on around here. I'm only their father. Okay, 5 minutes from now on the bridge. He'll be there. Wally's father put down the telephone and looked at the boys. That wouldn't be my flashlight she's talking about, would it? Wally nodded, still again. Is this what goes on in the afternoons when I'm not here? People run off with my flashlight and shorts? I get home early for the first time in a couple of months, and what do I see? Some girl leaving our yard at 60 miles an hour waving my underwear in the wind. She's the crazy, Peter explained soberly. Well, if you've got something of hers, Wally, you get on out to that bridge and give it back. I want my briefs and my flashlight back and anything else that's missing. What do they want next? Socks? Toothbrush? Keys? They're holding a garage sale or something? Wally went to his room for Caroline's drawings of Miss Applebaum. You guys have to come too, he murmured to the others, and they all followed him out the door. For a minute or so they trudged silently across the yard and over to the other side of the road. Once we get Dad's stuff back, we'll be even, Wally said, thinking that this would be a good time to forget about the Malloys once and for all. But we can't stop now, said Jake. If we're not bugging the girls, what will we do? That was something Wally hadn't thought about. Mom will enroll us in violin lessons, he said worriedly. She'll make us get a paper route, said Josh. She'll send us to camp next summer, said Peter. Jake grinned. So, we've got to stay busy, right? Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Right, said Wally. The boys looked at each other and smiled. Tell you what, said Josh. We won't start anything if they don't. Yeah, said Jake. But they will. Caroline and her sisters were coming across the bridge. Wally knew that his dad was back on the porch watching, and he wasn't about to do anything dumb like float Caroline's paper over the edge of the cable railing. Caroline's face was red. He had never seen her embarrassed before, but he was looking at it now. Here's your paper, he muttered. Here's your stuff, said Caroline, and handed him the sack. Eddie and Beth looked daggers at all four boys together. You better check that sack, whispered Josh, as the boys turned and started back again. They probably took the batteries out of the flashlight. Wally looked in the sack. Everything was there. He checked the flashlight. 2 batteries, 1 bulb. He took out the briefs and turned them over. No writing on the seat of the pants. Thank you, said their father when they reached the porch. Now, do you think it's possible that you boys can stay out of trouble for a couple of days? If you want something to do, you could wash our windows. Not to mention my car or the dishes or the kitchen floor. I've got homework, said Jake. Me too, said Wally, and all 4 boys went upstairs. There was always a back-to-school night at Buckman, the second week of September. No matter what, every parent who had a child in school was supposed to go to his or her classroom that night, meet the teacher, sit in the kid's seat, and listen to a talk about what students would be learning that year. Afterward, there'd be cookies and coffee in the gym, and the principal went around shaking hands. You no more missed back-to-school night in Buckman than you missed your grandmother's funeral. Mr. Hatford was going to spend the evening in Josh and Jake's classroom, while Mrs. Hatford would divide the evening between Miss Applebaum and Peter's teacher. The boys, of course, would stay at home. Always before on back-to-school night, the Hatfords went to the Bensons, or the Bensons came to the Hatfords, and the boys wrestled on the rug, made popcorn, ate candy, enjoying the fact that for once they were free and their folks were in school. But this time there was no Bensons. to come over, and to make matters worse, it rained. We could go through the kitchen and eat all the chocolate chips, said Wally. There aren't any. I already looked, Jake said. We could call up some of the guys at school to come over, said Josh. Who do we like at school? Jake asked. There were friends, of course, but none liked as well as the Bensons. We could wrap up in blankets and roll down the stairs, said Peter. Negative, said Josh. They decided at last to turn out all the lights and play hide and seek. Wally was it. He sat down on the couch in the living room and counted to 50. Here I come, ready or not, he yelled, and he groped his way down the hall. It was one of the most exciting of games the boys had played, and they reserved it for moments of incredible boredom. When you were it in the dark, you never knew when a hand was going to reach out and grab you, whether you would crawl under the bed and find a body, whether you would collide with somebody on the stairs. He heard a soft thud from somewhere, but wasn't quite sure if it was up or down, in or out. It had to be in, though, because outside was off limits. There were 3 live bodies waiting to be found, and in the dark, they could change hiding places as much as they liked. Even if you touched something, you had to make sure it was a person. The noise came up again, upstairs. Wally was sure of that now. He ran his hand along the wall and started up, his other hand sweeping the air in front of him. Halfway up the stairs, however, he heard another sound, and this time goosebumps rose on his arms. It was a sound like nothing he'd ever heard before. It seemed to be half human, half animal, yet more like a fire siren, only very, very soft. It rose and fell like the wind. Maybe it was the wind. Then it stopped, and all Wally heard was the rain beating down on the roof. He went on, running his hand along the wall, poking each step with his foot to make sure there wasn't a hand ready to grab his ankle. Just as he got to the top, however, the strange siren song came again. He heard somebody running along the hall, and then Peter's voice calling shakily, "Wally?" "What's the matter?" Wally said, putting out his hand so Peter wouldn't run into him. Peter ran into him anyway and grabbed his arm. "What's that noise?" Peter said. "I don't know. Probably Jake or Josh." "I don't want to play this game anymore," Peter told him. "Well, go down and sit on the couch then until I find the other guys." "No, I want to stay with you." "Ooh-wee-oo, ooh-wee-oo." It was not a siren. It was not anything Wally could figure out. "Josh, cut it out!" he yelled. "It's not me," came the voice from one of the bedrooms. "What the heck is it?" "Jake, I'll bet." "Turn on the lights," Peter begged. "No, we can't until we find Jake. That's the rule." "Ooh-wee-oo, ooh-wee-oo, ooh-wee-oo." Footsteps downstairs. "Hey, what are you guys doing?" came Jake's voice. "Who's singing that song?" It was not Jake. 3 sets of feet went flying down the stairs, the boys tumbling and rolling until Wally and his brothers lay in a heap at the bottom. Oh, what do you think it is? Something's going on. Do you think it's the girls? It's raining outside, remember? I don't know, would they come out and do something in the rain? Next chapter is 11 and it's called Trapped. Ooh, that sounds good. Okay. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed chapter 10.